After 7 years of dating, Ryan suddenly called off our wedding. He said he had to give his childhood friend a home first before he could marry me, because it was the dying wish of his childhood friend's mother, who was battling a terminal illness. He couldn't bear for the elderly woman to pass away with regret, so he promised at her bedside that he would marry his childhood friend. I told him I understood, and that, coincidentally, I was also about to have a grand wedding with my own childhood friend, because it was the dying wish of my childhood friend's father, who was battling a terminal illness. I also couldn't bear for the elderly man to pass away with regret, so I promised at his bedside that I would marry my childhood friend. I had just hung up Ethan's phone call. Ryan walked in from outside and sank onto the sofa, looking incredibly tired. I knew why he looked so exhausted. We were getting married in just 1 month. He had promised me a grand wedding. For the past while, we had both been busy with our wedding preparations. I thoughtfully poured him a glass of water. I've settled on the wedding dress, and the photographer is booked. This weekend, we'll go pick out the wedding dress and take our wedding photos. I've also finalized things with the wedding planning. We just need to find time to go over there and... Before I could finish, Ryan suddenly cut me off. Eleanor, our wedding needs to be postponed. Chloe's mother, Mrs. Margaret, has cancer and only has 3 months to live. You know, we grew up together. Her mother is like my own mother. She hopes Chloe can have a family before she passes away. I suddenly had a bad feeling. Why was Ryan bringing up Chloe at a time like this? Ryan, if Chloe is getting married, why does that mean our wedding has to be postponed? Ryan took my hand and had me sit opposite him. I could see the heartache and guilt on his face. Ellie, Mrs. Margaret has late-stage cancer. She begged me to marry Chloe, to give Chloe a home. And I couldn't refuse. He paused after saying this, seemingly observing my reaction. My face was calm, but my heart was throbbing with pain. What had I just heard? My fiancé was going to marry another woman. Was he here to break up with me? I stared at him blankly, speechless. Seeing my expression, Ryan immediately softened his voice and tried to comfort me. Don't worry, Chloe and I have agreed it's a fake marriage. You know, you're the one I truly love. We're just putting on a wedding for her mother's sake. I won't actually be with her. So the bride for this wedding will have to be Chloe. Please don't mind. You know, it's just for show, a facade. Just wait a few months for me. Once her situation is over, I'll give you an even grander wedding. Hearing that, I was too shocked to speak. My fiancé, who constantly professed his love for me, was now, with our wedding fast approaching, changing the bride. And asking me not to mind. Then promising to come back in a few months and give me an even grander wedding. Was this something a normal person would do? He was truly something, instantly emptying my heart of all the love I had for him. Ryan and I met in college. Our encounter was purely by chance. That day, I was preparing to confess my feelings to my crush, but at his college entrance, I saw a foreign blonde woman hugging him. Distraught, I returned to college and bumped into Ryan, who looked equally despondent. And that's how our relationship began. It was only much later, after we'd been together for a while, that I learned his sadness back then was because the person he loved had left him. And he, in turn, knew I was despondent because my secret crush had led nowhere. He was handsome and gentle. He was also attentive to my feelings. My crush had a girlfriend, so I had no chance. So I actively pursued Ryan. We shared a similar pain and quickly became a couple. For 7 years, he had been incredibly considerate towards me, and I had been just as devoted to him. We didn't keep secrets from each other. He said his childhood friend was like a sister to him and asked me to be understanding. I told him my childhood friend was like a brother to me and asked him to be patient. I could feel his affection, so I didn't mind that he had a childhood friend. He could also feel my love, so he didn't mind that I had a childhood friend. Our childhood friends were also very considerate and rarely interfered in our lives. And so, we reached the point of discussing marriage. But I never imagined that with our wedding imminent, his childhood friend would suddenly become so inconsiderate. And even more inconsiderately, he, because of his childhood friend's thoughtlessness, was directly replacing me with her as the bride, making me give up the meticulously planned wedding for her. He had to give her a home first. I scoffed. He probably thought he was incredibly noble, eager to make a selfless sacrifice for his childhood friend. Then I would let him. Actually, there's something I wanted to tell you too. Ethan's father, uncle, is ill and doesn't have much time left. His only wish now is to see Ethan get married, so Ethan asked me to help him by having a wedding with him. Don't worry, Ethan and I have agreed it's a fake marriage. You know, you're the one I truly love. We're just putting on a wedding for his father's sake. I won't actually be with him. So, Before I could finish, Ryan interrupted me. Eleanor, what are you talking about? Chloe's mother really has cancer. Can't you have some sympathy? It's just a matter of waiting a few months. This is a matter of life and death, not a game. I know you're angry, but you can't lie and try to sicken me with something like this. I told you, Chloe and I are just putting on a facade, it's fake. As soon as her mother passes away, we'll go back to our normal lives. Don't be so jealous, okay? You have to believe me. Once this is over, I'll definitely give you a grand wedding. He came clo. Sir, trying to pull me into his arms. I sidestepped, avoiding him. I found it amusing. So he also thought this kind of behavior was sickening. I looked at him coldly. I'm not crazy, and I'm not trying to sicken you. On the contrary, I understand you. Knowing the bond you share with Chloe, it would indeed be hard for you not to help with this small favor. And what I said is true. Ethan's father, uncle, is ill, and his wish is to see Ethan married. I also don't want to. At that moment, the sound of shattering glass echoed in the living room as Ryan suddenly threw the glass of water he was holding. Eleanor, I know you're angry, but this kind of joke isn't funny at all. I don't want you to make such jokes again. He looked at me with cold eyes. I met his gaze just as coldly. I'm not kidding. You know Ethan and I grew up together. It would be pretty messed up if I didn't help him with this small favor. Of course, Ethan and I are just going through the motions, just for show. You know I only love you. Don't worry, Ethan and I won't have any romantic or physical relationship. We're just having a wedding to put Uncle's mind at ease. So, I'll go help Ethan, and you go help Chloe. When you come back, I'll come back too. Then we can be together properly. How does that sound? Ryan glared at me, his face filled with fury, as if trying to pierce through my exterior and see into my soul. After a long moment, he suddenly pulled me into a tight embrace. Eleanor, I get it now. You just want me to feel how angry and heartbroken you are, right? I really do feel it. I know what I'm doing is hurting you, making you sad. But Margaret has treated me like a son, and I have to fulfill her dying wish. Taking care of them has been exhausting. Please try to understand me, and don't provoke me like this anymore. I'm truly upset. You can't just hurt me so recklessly, just because I love you. Come on, stop messing around. It's just for a few months. Hearing him say that made me feel sick to my stomach. I was hurting him? He actually turned the tables and accused me. Before I could say anything else, his phone rang. He let go of me to answer the phone. I could hear a woman's voice on the other end. Ryan, my mother has collapsed again. What should I do? Wait for me, I'm on my way. Ryan hung up the phone and looked at me with an apologetic expression. Eleanor, Mrs. Margaret's condition worsened. I need to go to the hospital. You be good. I'll come back for you. With that, he turned and left without looking back. Wait for him to come back for me? I'm not some discarded item. Before I even had time to feel sad, Ethan's phone call came in. I hung up and quickly drove to the hospital. In the hospital room, I saw Uncle sleeping soundly, and a visibly haggard Ethan. How is Uncle? He made a shushing gesture at me, then pulled me out of the room. The doctor said to take my dad home, let him eat whatever he wants, try to keep him happy, and fulfill all his wishes. Ellie, I know you're getting married soon, but we grew up together. Can you help me, considering how many times I've been scolded because of you? And considering that every time my dad ate chicken, you always got a drumstick, please help me just this once. You have no idea how unreliable women on dating apps are. Ethan's eyes were slightly red, and he looked at me so piteously. Ethan and I grew up together. When we were little, I saw him run around naked, and he made fun of me when I wore split pants. When his dad was busy, he'd drop him off at my place, and we'd share a bed. When my parents weren't home, they'd ask his father to look after me, and they'd also let me share a bed with him. Whenever his family had chicken, I always got a drumstick. Whenever my family had duck, he always had a seat at our table. He often took scoldings from my parents for me, and I often protected him from his father's discipline. Anyway, when we were kids, we were inseparable. Lou. From elementary school to middle school, no one dared to bully me. Because anyone who bothered me, he would hit back for me. Of course, if anyone bothered him, I would yell back at them for him. In high school, because of urban redevelopment, his family chose to move to the outskirts of town, while mine chose to live downtown. That's when we finally separated. But we never lost touch. Ethan called me today to tell me his father was ill and didn't have many months left. He said his father's wish was to see him married with children. But he was a bachelor, and couldn't immediately find someone to marry. If he found someone to pretend, he was afraid another woman would try to cling to him. After thinking it over, he figured I was the most reliable person and wouldn't trick him. So he thought of asking me to help him arrange a fake wedding. That way, he could fulfill his father's wish, and unscrupulous women wouldn't be able to take advantage of him. I knew he hadn't had a girlfriend since graduating college. But for me, someone who was about to get married, to have a wedding with him? How could I possibly agree to that? If my fiancé found out, how could our relationship continue? I refused him outright, telling him he was always coming up with ridiculous ideas. I told him to spend that time on dating apps instead. But I never expected that right after I hung up his phone call, my fiancé Ryan would give me a huge surprise. He was actually going to postpone our wedding and replace me with Chloe as the bride, all for his childhood friend's mother's dying wish. And then shamelessly told me to wait a few months for him to come and marry me. Hearing his completely outrageous words, I thought of Ethan's proposal. I was disheartened and disillusioned with Ryan, that jerk. So helping Ethan came with absolutely no psychological burden. On the contrary, it would even erase the awkwardness of being abandoned. I cut Ethan off. Stop talking. I agree. Arrange it as soon as possible. Don't let Uncle have any regrets. Ethan's eyes were wide with disbelief. Really, Ellie, you agreed? I'm telling you, once you agree, there's no going back. I'll make an appointment today, and we'll go get legally married as soon as possible. You know my dad doesn't have much time left, making him happy for one day is better than none. I was a bit confused. No, it's just for show. Do we really need to get legally married? Of course we have to get legally married. If we're going to put on a show, we have to do it completely. We'll have to show our marriage certificate at the wedding. If we don't, my dad will definitely know we're faking it, and he'll be heartbroken. I was speechless. Just get a fake one online for a few bucks. Ethan looked at me like I was a little fool. No, Ellie, you know what my dad does for a living. If you get a fake one, he'll see right through our little trick. Then he'll be even more heartbroken. Remembering Robert was in law enforcement, I knew a fake one wouldn't escape his sharp eye. He didn't have much time left, so I really shouldn't make him sad again. Anyway, it was just for show, so getting legally married was fine. Alright, tell me when you've scheduled it. Okay, I'll give you a phone call then. When you're having the worst luck, everything seems to go wrong. Just as I left the hospital room, I ran straight into Ryan. Ryan looked surprised to see me, then quickly pulled me into a corner before I could react. Eleanor, can you please stop making a scene? Mrs. Margaret can't handle stress. If she found out Chloe and I were fake, her condition would worsen. Can't you have some sympathy? I irritably shook off his hand. You're overthinking it. I don't have time to come here and watch your dutiful children and loving parents act. Ryan was taken aback. Then what are you doing here? I frowned. Didn't I tell you? Ethan's father, Uncle, is sick. Ryan looked disbelieving. Are you serious? I glanced at him, then calmly. Why said, of course. Uncle can't handle stress. If he found out Ethan and I were fake, his condition would worsen. So please, have some sympathy and don't say anything careless. I watched his face shift like a palette, showing sadness, sorrow, shock, anger, and disbelief. Anyway, I'm leaving. I still have wedding arrangements to take care of. With that, I walked away without looking back. It felt strangely satisfying to see him unhappy. As soon as I got home, Ryan followed me back. Seeing him stroll right into my house, I held out my hand. He immediately tried to grasp my hand ingratiatingly. I knew he had misunderstood. I firmly slapped away his outstretched hand. I'm getting married. It's not appropriate for you, my ex-boyfriend, to have a key to my place. Ryan froze, then his eyes flashed with anger. What are you doing? I've told you, Chloe and I are just going through the motions. There won't be any romantic or physical relationship between us. It's only for a few months, then I'll be completely yours. What more do you want? Why do you insist on having some fake wedding with Ethan just to provoke me? As he said this, he adopted a sorrowful expression. Can't you just compromise? Do you know how upset I get just thinking about you having a wedding with Ethan? I sighed. He was truly a sophisticated opportunist. And truly a scumbag who talked nonsense. He succeeded in sickening me. Give me the key and leave immediately. I am officially breaking up with you. He heard this and his face filled with disbelief. He probably didn't expect my attitude to be so resolute. Eleanor, just because Chloe and I are having a fake wedding, you're going to break up with me, disregarding our 7 years of love? I scoffed. 7 years of love, and it couldn't stop you from changing the bride at the last minute? You still have the nerve to talk about love? I don't want that kind of love. Now go. He wanted to say more, but just then, his phone rang. He looked at his phone. hesitated for a long time, then finally answered it. After he hung up the phone, he looked at me again. You're both quite emotional right now, so it's not a good time to talk. I'll come back to discuss this with you once you've calmed down. He turned and walked away, not leaving the key behind at all. So I immediately called a locksmith and had a new lock installed. That felt much better. I came from a good family. My parents bought me an apartment when I graduated college. I had been living in my own place all these years. My mom always told me since I was a child that a girl should never cross boundaries with a man before marriage. That's why I refused when Ryan asked me to move in with him. I only gave him a key to my place for convenience, so he could come and go, but I had never let him stay the night. Now that I'd broken up with him, there was no way I'd let him waltz back into my home. Maybe that jerk was too busy, because he hadn't come to bother me lately. That made me feel a lot better. On the day we were supposed to get legally married, I arrived at the county's office as planned. While waiting for Ethan at the entrance, I actually ran into Ryan and Chloe. Their hands were tightly clasped together. When saw me, he quickly let go of Chloe's hand and walked over to me, speaking in a hushed tone. Eleanor, you've calmed down now, but this isn't a good time for us to talk. Go home first, and I'll talk to you after I'm done here. I was baffled. How narcissistic must he be to think I was there to talk to him? If you're sick, take some medicine. Don't always imagine things. Ryan seemed a bit displeased with my indifferent attitude. Stop making a scene. There are so many people here, you're making a spectacle of us. I thought Ryan was deranged, so I quickly moved away, trying to keep my distance from sick people, just in case it was contagious. But that jerk followed right up to me again. I promised Mrs. Margaret that I would take Chloe and our marriage certificate to the hospital to see her today. I can't break my word. So please don't be angry. It's just a formality. I scoffed. This man seriously had issues. Whether he got legally married or not had nothing to do with me, and yet he was telling me not to be angry. But I still told him with a smile. You're overthinking it. You and I have nothing to do with each other. What would I be angry about? Ryan clearly didn't believe me. You specifically came here to confront me, and you're saying we have nothing to do with each other? Ellie, Chloe, and I are truly just going through the motions. You have to believe me. He succeeded in sickening me again. Excuse me, sir, don't flatter yourself. I'm here today because my fiancé and I have an appointment to get legally married. Ryan hadn't expected me to say something like that. He looked somewhat disbelieving. Eleanor, you're lying to me, aren't you? I pursed my lips. Why would I lie to you? Seeing's car pull up, I said, look, he's here. Ryan glanced at the approaching car, then looked at me with a frown, his eyes filled with disapproval. Eleanor, stop this. You actually got Ethan to come here and help you stage this act. You know Chloe and I are just going through the motions. After these few months, I'll be completely yours. Just wait patiently for me for a few more months. Don't falsely claim you're getting legally married to someone else just to provoke me. You know I love you. When you say things like that, it really makes me angry. The man's words had barely faded when Chloe looked at me with a pitiful expression. Eleanor, I'm sorry. Please don't misunderstand Ryan and me. My mother wouldn't feel at ease without seeing a marriage certificate, so he was forced to get legally married with me. You can't just randomly get legally married to other men just because Ryan is getting legally married with me. If you do that, Ryan will be heartbroken. You don't know how much he loves you. I beg you, for the sake of my mother, who has so little time left, please lend Ryan to me for a while. Once my mother's wish is fulfilled, I'll give him right back to you. After saying that, she actually knelt down and begged me, tears falling one by one. Ryan was pained to see this. He immediately walked over and helped her up. Chloe, you don't need to apologize. This has nothing to do with you, it's my decision. I'll get legally divorced from you after your mother passes away. I won't let your mother see any flaw, or let her have any regret. He gently stroked her head to comfort her, then glared at me angrily. Eleanor, I know you're angry, but Chloe has already knelt down and apologized to you. From today on, let's not see each other. We don't want anyone to discover what's going on, and if Mrs. Margaret found out, it would affect her condition. Once the situation is resolved, I'll come back for you. Don't worry, I promise I'll give you the wedding I pledged. So, stop making a fuss and go home now. I was seething with rage. These two, playing off each other, were making me so disgusted I felt like I could die of anger. Did he not understand what I was saying? I had already told him I was there with Ethan to get legally married. How could he still think I was just throwing a tantrum at him, and conspiring with Ethan to deceive him? Hearing his words, I suddenly felt utterly sickened. Looking at the two of them, they were like toads, so repulsive. I couldn't be bothered arguing with him anymore. Believe it or not, I moved to the side, intending to put some distance between myself and him and Chloe. I really didn't want Ethan to see them. If saw them, he would definitely figure something out. Although he was the one who asked for my help, using this opportunity to make him my placeholder felt a bit underhanded. But just as I feared, Ethan walked over, raising an eyebrow as he looked at me. What's up? Didn't get things clear with Ryan? Want me to talk to him? I shot high. An annoyed glare. Stop with the chatter. Are we getting legally married or not? If not, I'm going home. Yes, yes, yes. We're getting legally married. It took so much to get you to agree, how could we not? After we get legally married, we'll go to the hospital and show my dad. Hearing their conversation, Ryan's heart sank. He hadn't expected me to be serious. I was actually going to get legally married with Ethan. He was furious. How could this woman be like this? Just because she was angry with him, she was going to get legally married to another man? Didn't she care about his feelings at all? He quickly stepped in front of Ethan and me. Ellie, you're my fiancé. How can you get legally married with Ethan? I looked at him with cold eyes, then said without any emotion. Don't falsely claim a fiancé, yours is over there. He felt my coldness and a flicker of anxiety. Ellie, you know Chloe and I are just going through the motions, it's fake. Ethan stood beside me, looking at Ryan with disdain. I wondered why Ellie agreed to my proposal. Turns out you've been messing around behind her back. You're about to get legally married to someone else. What are you doing still bothering Ellie? This is between Ellie and me, it's none of your business. Ethan's eyes crinkled with a smile as he looked at Ryan contemptuously. Well, sorry, but Ellie is my soon-to-be wife, and we're about to get legally married, so actually, yes, it is my business. Hearing that, I gave Ethan's side a sharp pinch. I whispered a warning, what nonsense are you spouting? Ours is fake too. He grimaced, then whispered back to me, Ellie, you hit too hard. Can't you see I'm helping you? It's about not backing down. What, am I just going to let him bully you right in front of me? Ethan and I's private whispers, completely ignoring him, utterly enraged Ryan. Eleanor, if you insist on getting legally married with Ethan, I won't stop you, but don't expect me to marry you afterward. Ryan's war. DS made Ethan laugh out loud. Seriously, Ryan, don't you have a mirror at home? Why don't you take a look at yourself? A used man like you still dares to have designs on my Ellie? Who gave you the nerve? Get lost, or do you want me to beat you up? After saying that, Ethan held up his big fists. Seeing his fists, I remembered back in college, when he found out Ryan and I were dating, he went crazy and beat Ryan up. If I hadn't pleaded with Ryan, Ethan would have surely been disciplined back then. I quickly stopped his twitching fists and turned to Ryan. What are you even bothered about? Didn't I tell you we broke up? We're over. Why are you still lingering like this? Ryan looked at me intensely. How can you just break up with me like that? I don't agree. I frowned, looking at him. For some reason, I felt a flicker of annoyance deep inside. Fine, even if we haven't broken up, like you said, it's just a formality, right? What's there to be so concerned about? So, stop making a fuss and go get legally married with Chloe. I pulled Ethan, ready to leave, but Ryan blocked my path. Ellie, Chloe, and I won't get legally married. You shouldn't get legally married with Ethan either, okay? Hearing this, Chloe looked at Ryan with tearful eyes. Ryan, we don't have to get legally married. My mom only has so many days left anyway. Even if she saw us get legally married, it would just give her 2 more days of happiness, a little more joy for a while. You don't need to argue with Eleanor over my mother's dying wish. Seeing the conflict in his eyes, I said with disdain, Mrs. Margaret is critically ill. If you don't get legally married with Chloe, her condition will worsen. Can you live with that on your conscience? I knew Ryan would definitely get legally married with Chloe, so I stopped arguing with them and pulled Ethan towards the office hall. After leaving the county's office, Ethan and I went to the hospital. Who knew we'd run into Ryan and Chloe again right at the hospital entrance? Ryan looked at the official marriage document in Ethan's hand. He shot me a resentful look, then put his arm around Chloe and walked past me. Ethan wasn't to be outdone. He immediately put his arm around my waist and got on the elevator with them. I felt like it was a really small world, bumping into them around every corner. When Robert saw our marriage certificate, his spirits immediately lifted, and he insisted on being discharged from the hospital. Remembering said the doctor suggested letting Uncle go home, I didn't stop him. I hurried to complete his discharge paperwork. But wouldn't you know it, as soon as we stepped out, we ran into Ryan and Chloe again, helping Mrs. Margaret. Ryan looked at me nervously, as if afraid I might say something to upset Mrs. Margaret. I couldn't be bothered with him, but Chloe, however, approached me. She came up to me and spoke in a voice only we two could hear. Eleanor, what does it matter if you provoked Ryan by getting legally married to someone else? He still got legally married to me. Now that you've gotten legally married to someone else, in his eyes, you're damaged goods. He won't marry you in the future. Ryan will belong only to me from now on. You lost. I was seething inside, so I didn't hold back. As she turned to walk away, I slapped her across the face. Chloe, what was that? Ryan roared, but he didn't move. It was then I saw that Ethan had somehow positioned himself in front of Ryan. Turns out he wasn't unwilling to move, he couldn't move. I mentally gave Ethan a thumbs up. What am I doing? I was walking normally, and this woman's face was so big it hit my hand, and now my hand hurts terribly. I had indeed used force, so my hand really did hurt. Hearing me say that, Ethan quickly came over. He took my hand and showered me with concerned questions. How could you be so careless? People with big faces are thick-skinned. Look, your hand is all red. Next time you see someone with a big face, keep your distance, so you don't get hit by that big face again. I know. I'll be careful next time. Perhaps because we were being so brazen, Mrs. Margaret wouldn't stand for it anymore and lunged at me. You crazy woman, how dare you hit my daughter? I'll fight you. But before she reached me, Ethan used a restraint technique and subdued Mrs. Margaret. I was a bit surprised. I hadn't expected Ethan to be so capable, his movements so swift. But I was a little worried. Mrs. Margaret had cancer. Surely Ethan's move hadn't made her condition worse, had it? I hoped she wouldn't try to pin something on us later. I quickly shot him a meaningful look. Ethan saw it and instantly understood, giving me a reassuring look in return. He then pushed Mrs. Margaret into Ryan's arms. Mrs. Margaret cried out in pain and started yelling, I'm calling the police. You intentionally assaulted me. Ethan sneered, are you sure you want to call the police? I wonder if they'd be interested in someone faking medical records for insurance fraud. Seeing Margaret's panicked eyes, and then considering her rosy complexion and her energetic shouting just now, I suddenly understood. My gaze lingered on Chloe, Ryan, and Mrs. Margaret. Mom, Eleanor is Ryan's friend. There's no need to involve the police just for Ryan's sake, Chloe said, in a soft, weak voice. After speaking, she cast a wronged glance at Ryan. For my son-in-law's sake, I won't press charges. Come on, let's go home. With that, she grabbed Chloe with one hand and Ryan with the other. I felt like Mrs. Margaret was seizing the opportunity to back down gracefully. Ryan was led away blankly by Mrs. Margaret. He wasn't a fool, how could he not understand what Ethan had just implied? But he couldn't believe that Chloe and Mrs. Margaret would deceive him. Yet, looking at Chloe's and Mrs. Margaret's expressions, he felt a flicker of doubt. Were they really tricking him? Watching Margaret energetically pull the two of them away, I couldn't help but marvel. She didn't look like she was dying at all. I mischievously wondered what Ryan would do if he found out he had been tricked. Uncle, let's go home. You girl, why are you still calling me uncle? You and Ethan just got legally married, shouldn't you start using new titles? Is it because I haven't given you a gift for accepting new family titles that you're not going to call me that? What could I say? I could only meekly utter Dad. Hearing me call him Dad, Uncle's smile grew even wider. When we get home, Dad will give you a cash gift. And just like that, I ended up haphazardly going home with Ethan and his father. Once we arrived at Ethan's house, he led me straight to his bedroom. Ask anything you want to know. I did have something to ask, so I didn't hold back. I just want to know what you meant earlier about someone faking medical records. Ethan gave me a look that said, you already know the answer. It's exactly what you're thinking. Mrs. Margaret's medical records are fake. I raised an eyebrow. How do you know? I took my dad to the hospital and overheard their mother-daughter conspiracy. I narrowed my eyes. So you heard they were faking medical records to trick Ryan, and you didn't stop them? He nodded. Why should I stop them? If truly loved you, he would have rejected them outright, just like you did with me. But he didn't. What does that tell you? He doesn't love you at all. I gritted my teeth, but had to admit he was right. The key issue wasn't whether Chloe and Mrs. Margaret were deceiving him, but whether Ryan truly loved me. If he truly loved me, even if Mrs. Margaret genuinely had cancer, he wouldn't have agreed to her request. Just like I didn't agree to Ethan's request at first. I couldn't believe a man who was so exceptionally caring towards another woman, and even planning to get legally married and have a wedding with her, truly loved me. Perhaps he loved me, but maybe not that deeply. Or Perhaps he was just a fickle person, loving not only me but others as well. I am a perfectionist, and I didn't want his flawed love. Actually, I should thank Ethan for not stopping them. Otherwise, I wouldn't have realized that man was such a jerk. Thinking that Mrs. Margaret could fake medical records, did that mean? You said uncle was sick and only had a few months left. Ethan hadn't expected me to be so perceptive. He was conflicted, wondering if he should tell me the truth. Finally, he stammered nervously, his face full of caution, and said to me, Ellie, my dad really is sick, but the doctor said he'd be fine in a few months, he'll recover. Hearing that uncle wasn't seriously ill, I breathed a sigh of relief. Uncle treated me so well, I truly didn't want anything bad to happen to him. I just looked at him calmly, saying nothing. Ethan looked at me meekly. I overheard their plotting, and I got angry. I wanted to give them a taste of their own medicine. I didn't want you to be wronged. Listening to his explanation, I still didn't quite understand. Tricking me into getting legally married with him. Was it just to help me get even, to give them a taste of their own medicine? Seeing my silence, Ethan asked cautiously, Ellie, are you upset? I looked at him steadily. Ethan, tell me the truth. Why did you trick me into getting legally married? Ethan didn't answer my question. Instead, he asked, Ellie, do you still like Ryan? I rolled my eyes at him. Don't mention him. Now, even hearing his name makes me feel sickened. Ethan's eyes lit up at my words. Really? You don't like him anymore? I snapped back impatiently. I'm a normal person. I don't have masochistic tendencies, so you don't need to doubt it. Stop questioning me, just answer my question. Why did you trick me? Ethan still didn't answer my question. Ellie, are you regretting that I tricked you, and now you want to get a divorce? I was stunned, and without realizing it, I blurted out what was on my mind. I didn't want to get a divorce. After I said it, it dawned on me, why didn't I want to get a divorce from Ethan? Ethan smiled at me, still not answering but countering with a question. Then what's the point of asking if I tricked you? Tell me, don't you feel satisfied by what I did? I nodded. Seeing that jerk so furious, I was indeed satisfied. It was satisfying, yes, but didn't you feel wronged by me using you to anger him? Ethan smiled and ruffled my hair. I don't feel wronged at all. I swatted his hand away. Stop messing with my hair, you're ruining it. He continued to coax, do you want to feel even more satisfied? I nodded without hesitation. Of course. That jerk and conniving woman need to pay dearly. Do you have any ideas? Spill it, let me hear your plan. A smile played on Ethan's lips. Then you'll have to follow my lead. I feigned fear. What if you sell me off? Should I still listen to your plan? What nonsense are you talking about? How could I ever sell you? I nodded. All right, I'll follow your lead. A month later, I put on my wedding dress and walked into the hotel lobby. Only then did I realize how Ethan planned to make me even more satisfied. After we got legally married, I blocked all of Ryan's contact information. But I didn't expect him to constantly call and text me from unknown numbers. As soon as I realized it was him, I'd give him the full delete and block treatment. The day before the wedding, I received a text message from an unknown number. Ellie, tomorrow is your last chance. If you come, you'll be my bride. I didn't read to the end, I just deleted and blocked him. That's why I was still a bit bewildered when I ran into Ryan at the hotel. When saw me in a wedding dress at the hotel, he actually thought I'd regretted it and had come to stop the wedding. He stood a few meters away, wearing a sharp tuxedo, and looked at me, his eyes shining with uncontrollable joy. Ellie, I knew you'd come. I knew you couldn't let me go. Just then, Chloe, also in a wedding dress, rushed over. Ryan, why are you still here? The wedding is about to begin. I don't know what got into Ryan, but he actually pushed Chloe away. Chloe, I told you, if Ellie came today, this wedding would be hers. She's here now, you can leave. Chloe stared at Ryan with a look of disbelief. Ryan, what nonsense are you talking about? All our friends and family are here. If you change the bride now, what will our friends and family think of me? What will they think of you? Chloe was teary-eyed, and somehow her gaze fixed on me. Eleanor, I'm begging you, please just leave Ryan and me alone. All our friends and family are here today, we really can't change the bride. Ryan and I are already legally married. If you have a wedding with him, you'll become the hated other woman in everyone's eyes. You, before could finish, a slap landed on her face. Chloe, how dare you talk about Ellie like that? Ellie isn't the other woman, you are. Don't think I don't know about you and your mother's schemes against me. I didn't expose it out of consideration for our long-standing connection. This wedding was always meant for Ellie. Now it's just returning to its rightful owner. Leave now, don't make Ellie angry. After speaking, Ryan walked towards me, but Chloe immediately hugged his leg. Ryan, don't forget we're legally married. We're husband and wife by law. If you have a wedding with Eleanor, she'll be the mistress everyone laughs at. Do you think someone as proud as she is would ever agree to be another woman? That's nonsense. Our marriage is fake. Ellie isn't the other woman, we're truly in love. Truly in love? Ryan, you're just fooling yourself. If you were truly in love, why would you have gotten legally married to me? That was you and your mother who tricked me. Ryan, stop making excuses for being so fickle-minded. You might love Eleanor, but don't you admit that you love me too? Eleanor has Ethan now, she's not going to choose you again. Give up, couldn't we just live happily together? I watched them arguing with great relish. Ethan walked over at the right moment. Feeling satisfied? I nodded. Completely. Have you completely let go? Completely. Then let's go. The wedding is about to begin. Ellie, are you really giving up on me? Ryan's voice came from behind. I turned around. Ryan, from the moment you said you'd change the bride, I had already let go. You're married now too, let's just go our separate ways peacefully. In the ballroom, deep and melodious music began to play. Ethan, holding a ring in one hand, knelt on one knee. I looked at him with astonishment. This wasn't part of the rehearsal. Ellie, I promise that whether in good times or bad, in wealth or poverty, in sickness or health, in joy or sorrow, I will always be by your side, your most steadfast support. I will love you without reservation, be proud of you, respect you, and do my best to meet your needs. In times of danger, I will protect you without hesitation. When you are sad, I will patiently comfort you. I wish to grow with you in body, mind, and spirit, always faithful to you, cherishing you, forever and ever. I love you. Today, I give myself to you. Will you marry me? I stared blankly at Ethan for a long time before I could finally say, I do. Ethan's POV *. I've been with Ellie since birth. From childhood on, as long as she was by my side, I was happy and content. When she cried, I hurt. When she laughed, I was happy. I was always waiting for her to grow up. But I hadn't waited for her to grow up yet. When our house was demolished for redevelopment, and my dad took me to the outskirts of town, she and I could only keep in touch by phone. Countless times, I wanted to confess my feelings to her. But each time, I forcibly suppressed it. Until we got into colleges in the same city. I had waited for years, and finally, I no longer suppressed my feelings. I went to her college to find her, but each time I couldn't. Until that one time I saw her come out of the college, hand in hand with a guy. I was so angry that I beat up that guy. But got angry at me and told me he was her boyfriend. She only had eyes for him, and my heart ached. After more than 10 years of companionship, why couldn't Ellie just look at me? If she had just looked at me, she would have seen my feelings for her. I returned to college angrily, but I still couldn't let go of her, and I couldn't help but care about her. After graduation, I followed her back to our city. I found her boyfriend acting too intimately with another woman. I ran to warn her, but she brushed it off, telling me she trusted her boyfriend. I couldn't stand it, so I went and beat that man up. I warned him that if he dared to treat Ellie badly, I wouldn't let him get away with it. I thought I could only quietly protect her for the rest of my life. But I never expected to hear Chloe and her mother plotting against Ryan. What was even more unexpected was that Ryan actually fell for their trap. He actually agreed to switch brides at the last minute. So I kept quiet. I called Ellie and lied to her for the first time. I told her my father didn't have much time left, and his dying wish was to see me settle down. I asked her to have a fake wedding with me to make my father happy and ensure he had no regrets. She refused without a second thought. This was expected. I figured if she knew her boyfriend was going to switch brides at the last minute, she would definitely change her mind. After all, whenever she was wronged before, she would come to me, and I would help her get even. As expected, she agreed that afternoon. I was overjoyed. Not only would I help her get even, but I would also make her completely forget that man. I coaxed her into getting legally married with me. The date was the same as that man's. As expected, Ellie became even angrier when she saw them together. Later, I spent a lot of money to book same hotel for our wedding as that man. The same hotel, the same floor, the same time, and even 2 ballrooms directly facing each other. I wanted that man to see that what he didn't cherish was my heart's desire. I also didn't expect that man to try to get back together. I was extremely worried then, fearing Ellie might agree. Thankfully, my Ellie didn't disappoint me. Every word of my wedding vows came from the bottom of my heart. When I saw Ellie looking directly at me and saying I do, I felt like my heart was going to burst out of my chest. I had finally gotten her to focus her gaze on me. That very day, I practically moved into her place. We started our life living together. I would try to climb into her bed in the middle of the night, and she would kick me right off. We went back and forth like this for a long time. In the end, I had the upper hand and finally claimed a corner of the bed. Later, things progressed naturally between us. On the night we truly became intimate, she asked me when I had fallen in love with her. I held her tightly and told her I'd loved her since childhood. She cried and held on to me tightly, refusing to let go. Only then did I realize that I was her first love too. It was just by some strange twist of fate that we had missed so many years.